married, her and her husband just stood there the first day and did it all. It was kind of trial and error. So I think if we start off with 2 6-foot tables, there'll be plenty. And Claire will have some in the place, you just say.
So someone's job at the beginning might be just to weigh things. So you have one scale, right? And so, or you just weigh out units.
Ealing is one of several thousand transition towns worldwide where local people aim to equip their community for the triple challenges of climate change, peak oil and economic instability through self-help, sustainable living and local support structures. This film is an overview of some activities of the Ealing Transition Initiative through 2012. Participants are volunteers. There is no organisation structure, no headquarters and no leaders. It is simply people getting together to do stuff they think is important to maintain a healthy environment. Anyone can participate or initiate a sustainability project, which often involve the local authority, local businesses and other community groups.
I'm Trevor from Ealing Transition, and this is our edible garden. This is right next to the orchard that is back there. And when we were planting the orchard with the help of Ealing Rangers, we noticed this flower bed that hasn't actually been planted with anything except weeds for years. And so we asked if we could have the chance of using it. So it isn't just that we're growing food, we're growing something bigger. We're growing a community in order to make the transition, as we see it, from a more individualistic, atomised society dependent on a big industrial machine to a more local, community-supported way of living. We are going to be left dependent on a whole system that depends on oil, and oil isn't going to be there to help us. So we have to begin to think about how we look after ourselves more and make that transition from an oil-based economy to a more localised economy.
This is the Ealing Transition Community Orchard, and we planted it about a year ago. This area used to be a great big old tennis court, so if you dig down about 2 or 3 inches here, you'll hit asphalt, and that was one of the reasons why we thought it would be really nice to have an orchard here, which is that it's essentially ground that you can't really do anything with, you can't really plant anything. So if you dig through the asphalt and stick trees in, then it's really good productive use of the space. We planted it a year ago and we've involved the whole of the local community in the planting. So most of these trees have been adopted in some way, shape or form. They'll water them occasionally and they'll grow up with them. In the future they'll be able to come pick their own apples, which will be very nice. Ealing's got a very strong history of food production, so it's nice to bring some of that back into the area. A lot of Ealing used to be orchards many, many years ago.
What are you going to plant?
Peas.
Peas, yeah? Okay. These ones, do you know? Yep.
I thought maybe that tree could become a tree house.
I was drawing a tree house with stepping stones and stuff. And then that's a teepee, and then there's a tunnel leading to a wooden table.
A rope attaching onto wooden pieces where you could climb up to the tree house.
Yeah, the idea of today is just the first step of engaging with the community really, and to share with them the ideas and discussions that Ealing Transition have been having, and then bringing. So we've got the seed planting here today, so they'll plant the seed, take it home, nurture it, watch it grow, to then be brought back here for the plant to flourish into something, and then we can get our vegetables from it.
Poke it down a little
Oh, so take this home or something?
Yeah, you take it home and grow it.
Into the Thames water drains.
This evening is a joint event run by ourselves and Joju Solar. And John here is actually going to be doing most of the talking tonight, telling you about what you've come here to find out about solar electricity and what the recent changes have been and how they're likely to impact on you.
Houses in the UK are very old and drafty and really need renovating, so I'd like to be part of that, or the company would certainly like to be part of that process. What we've seen in the UK now, since the energy efficiency measures have come in, there's been a 97% drop in solar installations in the UK. This is about 6 square metres, and that will get you about a kilowatt. So if you can get a metre by 6 metres, or 1.6 metres by 6 metres, these are 1.6 metres long, they're a metre wide. This is a typical London value. Your house will continue to work as it normally does, basically. You carry on using energy. Okay, well. Joju has been in business for 5 years now. She sounds quite young, it is quite young, but it's quite old for solar companies in the UK. It's quite a new industry, so we were the first to be MCS accredited in London and the third to be accredited in the UK, so pretty old for a solar company, in the UK anyway.
Is there a sort of prescribed list? Because actually I was thinking that what I really need in my house is actually carpets in my front room, where I've just got flooring at the moment and there's a huge draft coming through, and I was wondering if I could get some funding for that, you know, because that's helping to insulate the property, isn't it?
You can definitely get money for draft proofing,
Yeah.
So maybe, yeah. We're all very green, I think, so we all believe in what we do, and I think that is vitally important.
Thank you very much, guys. Nice one.
Alright, so we are the Sustainable Food Group, and we're part of Ealing Transition Initiative. So this is the leaflet that we have designed for our marketing plan. And then you've got stairs going up, and you've got a huge room.
Which is what they were talking about, having the kiddies watching telly while the parents chill out.
How are you?
Hi, very good, thank you. Hello. Easy, but as you say, then.
If you go into a supermarket and you do a comparison between organic food and non-organic food, it can be quite expensive. Not always. Some things there's a much greater price difference. But the idea with this scheme is we're offering organic food at really low prices compared to what you pay in the supermarket. So we're making it more accessible to more people.
But if you have like a middle and you go and you pre-weigh your food, in my mind it means that it's on a big table already, like you got 500 grams
I think
of potatoes, 500 grams of potatoes.
the whole group is a very interesting concept, really, and I got involved in it because food is a passion of mine. It's actually my job now to produce food for farmers' markets.
It's because you leave all your fruit and vegetables in boxes until you pack your boxes, so you don't need an extra space for an intermediate. That's the only reason I can think
In
of.
terms of what we've achieved and what we've done in the last year, we've taken the idea, the seed of making a box scheme to become a reality. So we're on the sort of point now where we're just about to launch it, and that for me has been the most exciting part of the process. It hasn't been one particular thing, it's been the whole journey.
Really, it's just to inspire the community to get behind something. So it's a way to help the local community, but the way the local community can help themselves.
chemicals used in conventional agriculture require vast amounts of fossil fuel for their production and also destroy microorganisms in the soil, thus contributing enormously to greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and acidification of rivers and seas. Organic and biodynamic agriculture, on the other hand, enhance the biodiversity in soils, retaining carbon dioxide, methane and water, thus producing more nutritionally dense food without damaging the environment.
Well, we're just working out.
We like broccoli, so I'm happy to buy.
It's a lot less than a shop because we want people to, we can afford to do that at the moment because we're all volunteers. We want our long-term aim is to have a paid person, but that will be coming from funding. The extra we put on when we buy it from the wholesaler or from the suppliers, it just helps to cover our costs, whether we've got bags, a bit of transport, etc. And there'll be more costs in the future, so we need to have our bank balance looking healthy, and then we can move into the next stage of growth. But we're trying to walk before we run.
After 1 year, Edible Ealing has over 100 customers, and the number is growing weekly. Box pickup points have grown from 1 to 4, stretched between Hanwell and Acton, and the produce range now includes organic fruit, bread, cakes, herbs and chutneys, as well as organic vegetables.
My name's Glendra Reid, and I've worked with Ealing Transition for about 2 years now. And then we had oversight that this would come up to be rented and managed, and I took over the management of the plot about a year ago, of the whole site actually. Three and 4 belong to Ealing Transition, and we work those as communal plots where we meet every week. Just anybody can drop in. And I think having the transition plots here is good because that's kind of a catalyst for the sharing mentality, if you like, and the swapping of ideas. It's relatively easy for me to keep on top of this. I know everybody and everybody knows me.
Ealing Transition now runs 19 plots, growing fruit trees and bushes and a wide variety of vegetables. Tenants Debbie and Peter won the 2013 Ealing and Hanwell Allotments Association's President's Trophy for their Best in Show basket of mixed vegetables.
So this is our greenhouse, and this is brilliant construction by our transition member Sarah. Basically it's made entirely from recycled materials. Principally what you can see on the outside is a number of recycled windows from people who are having double glazing done and having them chucked out, because there's not really any way they can be recycled unless you make them into something like this. I think probably the only thing that isn't reclaimed here is the roof, which is just quite difficult to get hold of, but it's a quite good greenhouse and it costs basically nothing, so we're very pleased with it. This is something we built last year, and it's a clay oven, so it's a very simple design. It's made with clay that I dug from about 2 foot under my garden, and we used it for our reskilling day. And that's the main reason why we built it, not just to show people how you could build with clay, but also we were making the pizzas, and that's what we did in there. Well, I think that might, if we put cheese on that, so the base looks like it's actually probably done, isn't it? It's taking a little bit of time.
I'm probably going to put it on, but I don't know what it's going to...
Someone go and pick the olive tree. It's not the sort of heat you get in your oven at home. It's a very, very hot, intense, radiated heat, so it makes a really good crispy pizza.
The pizza oven continues to be the hub of many transition events, and a larger rocket stove, also made from natural local materials, is under construction. 1/3 of all food we eat depends on pollination by bees, but their immune systems are buckling under the strain of agricultural chemicals, atmospheric pollution, loss of flowering meadowland, and climate change. Transition members are supporting a number of hives as a contribution to maintaining the local bee population.
So the hive we've set up here is actually a cooperative. It's owned by the community. About 30 people within the community have bought what we call bee shares, and basically they will share whatever honey harvest we get. So we're not selling it as such. So basically we're just doing a hive inspection, so at this time of year we want to do those weekly. So what we did was we used the smoker, gave them just a little bit of smoke, and what they do is then they think potentially that the hive's on fire. They go down into the hive and fill themselves up with honey, and then like us, once we've had a meal, they're happy and contented, so they're a bit less sort of aggressive and a bit easier to work with. And basically what we were doing was just going through all the frames and checking to make sure that everything looked good and looked healthy. There is a decline in bees across the UK, and so with the sort of renewed interest in it amongst a lot of people, that's good for sort of building up the population, hopefully. And I think it's also good as to have them within the community, and it's sort of a community hive like this, because a lot of people are quite interested in beekeeping, and so they can have a chance to come and have a look at what's going on in our hive without actually having the commitment of looking after them, coming and looking after them every week.
A local church, St Mary's in South Ealing, is currently the focal point of many transition activities, including film evenings, seminars, public discussion and planning events. With its large aisle, spacious annex and fully equipped kitchen, it is also the perfect place for the annual Reskilling Day.
Well, welcome to our second Reskilling Day. We call it that because it's about getting people to think about and have an experience of some of the skills that we have had, the craft skills that we've had in our society for generations, but in recent times we seem to have forgotten. That's why it's reskilling. It's relearning what perhaps our parents or grandparents or great-grandparents knew. So it's about reducing our vulnerability and enabling us to be a more sustainable, more resilient group of people. It gives people a chance to explore things that they otherwise wouldn't be able to do at virtually no cost, because people come along and give their time free because that's what they enjoy doing. It's about learning things together in community and having fun.
To make bread, you need flour, you need water, you need salt, and you need yeast. And if you're making one of the other loaves, then maybe a little bit of butter, just to give it a bit of body. About 80% of commercially made bread has treatment agents, reducing agents, other types of flour, emulsifiers, preservatives, enzymes, and all kinds of other things in there which enable the baking industry to make the bread a lot quicker. Now that's not necessarily good for us. So there's lots of good reasons for making your own bread. It's fresh, it's delicious. You'll find that if you start making your own bread on a regular basis, your bread consumption will go up because it is very tasty. So, is everybody's yeast looking like a kind of murky mess? Good, excellent. That, as they say, is pretty well made. And what we will do is we'll leave that in a warm place. Again, it likes the warmth. Fortunately, we've got some warmth. I won't stick it by the windows, but I'll do all that when we've got.
Right, now we can put our pan on. That's good. Okay. And make these things called badgers. And they're basically chickpea flour, gram flour, with chilies.
Don't be silly.
fine.
I want to go out. Oh my god.
Someone would be brave enough to eat it.
It's like a vegetable pancake.
It is. It's got spring
It
onions
is a
in it,
vegetable
and
pancake.
chilies, and chickpea flour. Right.
I would like to have...
Who would like
Me!
one of these? So maybe I'll do it a bit on the other side first. How is it?
Oh, that's hot.
Is it hot? Sorry about that.
Hi, I'm Sarah and I'm based at Hen Corner in Brentford, and we run a project that encourages Londoners to have a little bit of country life and incorporate it into their day-to-day busy lives. Keeping chickens in London is really easy, and so it's great to be here today at the Ealing Transition Reskilling Day and encouraging Londoners to have a go. Behind me we've got some pigs, and that's a bit adventurous for some, but if you take Britain and take London back to World War days, everybody had chickens in the back garden. When you were looking at times of rationing, you needed to have your own food as a constant supply in the back garden. And I think we're seeing a real turn back to those days, because keeping a chicken is really easy. Well, I wouldn't just keep one, they're quite sociable creatures, so they do need to be kept to 2s and 3s minimum. Then all that chickens need on a daily basis is the layers pellets, fresh clean water, and then make sure that they're safe from those London foxes. Just to encourage people, we run courses at Hen Corner, and we get people come week in, week out saying, can I see it, can I touch it, can I cuddle a chicken, can I see how we can make it work in our garden? And we hear many stories of how people have then gone on to keep chickens themselves.
No, my fingers.
Are they permanently here? Sorry? Are they permanently here?
They are now just over 6 months. We got these two when they were a couple of days after they'd been weaned from their mum. So they'd been on pellets for a couple of days. They were 12 weeks old. When we got them, I think they were around 12 to 20 kilos, and now they're 90 kilos. At the moment, we've got an apple tree in the allotment, and we give them a lot of fallen apples, which they love, but also any vegetable peelings, old rice or bread. You get them at 20 kilos. When they get to about 85, 95 kilos is the best time for them to go. Anything over that, the meat gets very fatty, and anything under 85, obviously you're not getting very much meat for what you're doing. So they say 85 is the best. 85, 95 kilos is the best time. We'll give them, say, this 95 kilo pig, and we'll get back about 65 kilos of meat. They need to be able to go to the toilet, they need to drink, eat, and somewhere to sleep. We try to give them as much space as possible under the trees here, which is the best place for pigs, so they get the shade. Too much sun's not good for their skin.
Okay, we're London Bike Hub, so we're a local provider of cycle training and maintenance training and cycle repairs in the borough. When we first started the basic course, which is basically puncture repair and understanding the bicycle, some of the other companies have moved into the market, so Tesco's and Asda sell bikes now, and Sports Direct. And they're unfortunately maybe not real bike shops, they just sell a product, so they can't build them and they can't repair them. So the whole price has gone quite low now. Still got 2 wheels, 2 pedals. It's only a little bit longer.
The overall dimension of it
hasn't changed.
With heavy tyres.
Well, standard, the slightly stronger wheels because of the amount of weight they take sometimes. But it hasn't changed a great deal in 120 years. It hasn't been better. I mean, yes, there's been a few tweaks. Like penny farthing came and went. The odd unicycle, but fundamentally, 1, 2, 3, 4 wheels. Some sort of chains. Sometimes it's carbon fibre chain rather than a metal chain, but basically bikes are bikes really. One reason I think is that petrol's becoming quite expensive and people are thinking maybe I don't need to drive 2 miles down the road to Tesco's Extra, maybe they just cycle perhaps. And also it's become quite cool as well, and There's all sorts of different ways you can pitch cycling, be it environmentally friendly, cheaper, healthier, and it's also quite fun as well.
Are we getting more flat on their back? It's a safe position to drink cider. We are making cider, and we have a process where we began by sterilising all of the equipment that's going to touch the fruit. Sterilising in the baby sterilisation fluid. We then chose different types of apples to give us a good blend of cider. We want complex tastes, and so what we've chosen is a Granny Smith style apple for some tartness. We've got some Bramleys to give us sourness and lots of complex flavour. We've got a sweet dessert apple to give some sweetness. And I've also got a few cider apples from the West Country that a friend brought up. They are going to give me tannin, which is, I think, a key ingredient in all good cider. You should be able to taste it a long time after drinking. Yes, please. So if you want to load another load of chopped apples into it and get them mashed, we're going to pulp the fruit in a pulping bucket that has a metal blade that fits into a home drill. And off we go, maestros, get spinning. But this is now going to be ready for the next stage, which is pressing. And it's much easier if your bits of apple are all tiny. We haven't bothered removing the cores or the skins. The skins contain lots of natural yeast, which are going to be helpful for the fermentation. And I think if you have a good variety of apples and you keep your products clean, you should be able to make great cider. Loading up the... No, I think we'll be ready in a few minutes, possibly. Okay, so some holders of the holder steady. Some muscle to wind it round. We put everything cool, skin, pips, everything's in there. Oh, gushing that is. And absolutely, if the bits float in, the bits stay there. I always like my drinks unfiltered. Yes, it feels like it would be useful to have a plyboard and to screw it in.
Yeah, these little nudges at the bottom.
Yeah. Tastes lovely. Ooh, it's very, very sharp. That'll be good.
At the end of a long and busy day, everyone can relax with a healthy meal of locally grown produce and chat about their experiences, ideas and plans for the coming year.
So, anybody who made bread earlier on, it's ready, so come and get it when you're ready.
Thank you those of you who've made donations. If you haven't, we're collecting donations just to cover the costs, but everybody here has given their time freely. And thank you once again for coming. Thank you.
We have seen a brief insight into just one of the thousands of such groups worldwide. And as the environmental, energy and economic situations continue to destabilise, awareness of the transition message and the corresponding community actions necessary continues to grow. Even the long-running Radio 4 programme, The Archers, has featured a transition movement in its plotline.